From Good to Outstanding challenged good teachers to become even better. Now Top Inspector Claire Gillies is back, revisiting some of the teachers she saw last time. She'll observe them once again to see if they've moved on in their teaching. So will they deliver an outstanding lesson?
With all these teachers I've come back to see again, although they may not have all been seen delivering an outstanding lesson, it's clear they've all got a better insight into what makes an outstanding lesson, an outstanding learning.
In the series From Good to Outstanding, we challenge teachers from reception through to Key Stage 4 to go from good to outstanding. Top Inspector Claire Gillies observed them teach. We gave them one-to-one expert advice in their subject areas. And a few weeks later, Claire went back to see whether they'd upped their teaching from good to outstanding. In this programme, Claire will revisit primary teacher Halima Hussain.
Lots of things have changed. I'm in a new year group, there's a new Ofsted framework, so I'm pretty happy with good. And if there are outstanding elements, that's what I'm looking to achieve at the moment. Outstanding elements, not necessarily an outstanding wholesome lesson.
Halima teaches Year 6 at Brampton Primary. When she was first filmed, she was in her 3rd year of teaching. 2 years on, Halima reflects on how taking part in the programme has influenced her teaching.
Longer hands than shorter people.
I think doing the programme was so beneficial.
And then you got to write
Before, I was a bit wary of my lessons, thinking, oh, am I doing it right? Have I got the right elements in the lesson? But it's definitely boosted my self-confidence, and I actually enjoy teaching the science.
When Claire Gillies first observed Halima in the spring term of 2008, she was teaching science to her Year 4 class.
Measure.
Measure.
Predict.
Predict.
What does predict mean? From looking at this lesson, I know I didn't use any gestures. I was holding onto my pen the whole time, and I often don't hold onto my pen anymore. I put it into the pen holder. So it's a big difference from how I teach now to how it was back then.
Halima was getting her pupils to compare height with hand size.
Quickly look at someone's book instead of making it up. 16, 15 and 15, interesting.
Claire's feedback was pretty positive.
Thank you very much. It was a really enjoyable science lesson there.
Thank you.
But she still saw some room for improvement.
It's always that interesting element with science. Why are we interested in whether our hand and our height are linked in any way? Just so that as a thought.
I didn't actually mention in the lesson how it would help the children directly. I just said, oh, you can maybe use this skill at home, and that's it. I left it.
To boost Halima's teaching, she had an intensive day of bespoke CPD. John Stringer was brought in to offer expert advice.
It's important that the science has some purpose in real life. It may be that what you need to do is compare not height with hand size, but age with hand size. And then you could begin to say, well then, if we were making gloves for our class and our age range, just what size would we need them?
So I'm always in maths, English, science, all the lessons. I'm making sure that the children understand why they're doing the lesson, not just doing it for the sake of being there and learning.
He also reassured Halima that scientific data doesn't always produce perfect results.
Just by chance happen to have hands that get larger nicely as they grow taller. But in reality, this doesn't happen. This is an enormously helpful thing for children to learn about because it's their opportunity to discover that science isn't finite, science hasn't finished, it's always growing. We're learning something new from it.
It was very beneficial having John telling me science doesn't always go correctly and experiments in your classroom won't always go according to plan. And now I get the children to explain to me why that is. In Year 6, the children can actually say, oh, actually, it didn't work like this, miss, because we didn't have this or it wasn't fair. So I don't really panic anymore, whereas that first lesson, I was panicking because I got the wrong results.
Communications coach Ulrika Schulte-Bauchloh worked with Halima on her gestures.
Put the kettle on, switch it on so it boils. Arika's advice was very helpful. I've taken that advice and I apply it in every single lesson. Actually, I'm on the phone sometimes giving directions with my hands as well, so that's quite embarrassing.
Back then, Halima had just 2 weeks to take on all the advice and try it out in the classroom.
If you're a gardener, gardeners sometimes have to separate the stones from their soils.
When it came to the crunch and Claire returned, Halima managed to pull all the advice together.
The second lesson, I felt very confident. I felt I was doing all the right things.
Claire was impressed.
It was an outstanding lesson overall because they really learnt hard and I was very happy to watch it, so thank you again.
Thanks a lot. Getting outstanding, I'm still gobsmacked and I'd love to get outstanding again. It's an amazing status to have.
Back then, Claire rated Halima's lesson outstanding, proving that it is possible to make a good teacher outstanding in just 2 weeks. So with 2 more years' experience under her belt and now teaching Year 6, Halima prepares for Claire's return.
Today in science we're going to do an investigation and our learning intention is, can I choose appropriate apparatus for separating a mixture of solids?
To make sure she delivers another outstanding lesson for Claire, primary science expert Des Dunn has come in to give her some critical feedback.
Separate.
Separate.
Mixture.
Mixture.
Solid.
Solid.
Insoluble.
Insoluble.
Okay. Since the last programme where Claire said I had outstanding, I believe I'm not outstanding anymore. When do people use equipment to separate solids? Have a little think about at home. I feel as though I'm a good now, even though there's lots of elements of what Claire said I still continue to use. All I want you to do is think about which solid you are going to separate first and which apparatus you are going to use. 8 minutes to do your plan.
Oh yeah, or pick the marbles out with the spoon.
Time management was a big issue and I feel as though even though I've moved on from there, there's still tweaking I need to do in terms of my time management. Now, I would like you to use your plans to do the investigation. And I'd like you to write it all down as you're doing it. So before we go into doing the investigation, can you take one of these sheets? You need to write down all the apparatus you need and then what you do. But you've got to write it step by step. Okay, get started, please.
I do firstly pick out the marbles. Marbles.
Well done. So how do you get those raisins off of that board?
From the first lesson, one of my targets was to use my teaching assistant more effectively, and I feel as though I am using my teaching assistant more effectively, making sure they're engaged with the children, not just the group they're working with, the whole entire class.
Is there any chance that we can get the sample off of the raisins?
Miss Gam might let them know.
No. Even if we put them through the sieve?
Maybe, yeah, you could. Maybe.
We might be able to get some of it off.
Then we use the magnet to separate the paper clips. You want this? One grain of rice. Okay, you left a grain of rice.
Have something to catch the water in at the other end. Okay?
You've got to stop now. Hands up if you actually followed your plan and your plan was correct. Hands up. Okay, you worked really well today. I'm very pleased with you. Fantastic work.
Halima, thanks very much for letting me join your lesson. It was very good. I enjoyed many aspects of it. Now the issue is it's outstanding? And I think it's not outstanding. The reason why the lesson wasn't outstanding was perhaps the number of structured worksheets that the children had to go through in that sequence. And the flexibility that you need to build into you're my top group, you don't need to complete any more of this. What I want you to get onto is this bit. Okay. There's a lot of what on these sheets. What I will need, what I did,
Yes.
what we've chosen. This is the bit which has the why, and actually that's the most challenging bit for the children. But the key thing that Claire, the inspector, will be looking for is the progress that the children are making in their learning. So if you keep in your mind the learning objective and how I make progress in their learning at the start, when they're in the main activity, and then again summarising it in the plenary, she would be looking at that as a constant reinforcement of the learning objective. But really good luck for the next one, and I'm sure you'll do all right.
Thank you.
2 years ago, our primary science expert, John Stringer, also picked up on Halima's need to differentiate more effectively.
Very often the differentiation is in the degree of presentation. So, for example, you set the class going and you say to a group, you know, you carry on and I'll come across and check on you. You say to a second group, perhaps not so able, get as far as the first measurement and I'll come and check. And then with the third group, you say, don't do anything till I come and talk to you, or involve your education assistant.
It's the day of Halima's observation with Claire.
I just want to get started, to be honest. I know my time management is quite bad and I need to improve on that. So maybe I'll go over today as well. I've got heaps to do in this lesson.
Claire's back. After 2 years of working hard on her teaching, will Halima be able to impress Claire enough to hold on to that outstanding?
Today in science, your learning intention is, can I show and explain why some materials are good electrical conductors and some are not?
Halima has the afternoon lesson to impress Claire.
Electrical conductor.
Electrical conductor.
And what is an electrical conductor? Kadir?
Electrical conductor is when it lets electricity pass through.
Very good, well done. Electrical insulator.
Electrical insulator.
Thinking about Halima's teaching, the first lesson we saw was definitely good. There were some quite clear things she needed to think about to move towards outstanding. So it was great to see her second lesson, which was outstanding. So the interest, obviously, is coming back to see whether she's maintained the momentum and the hard work that goes into preparing and delivering outstanding lessons.
Okay, if we're trying to find out which materials are good electrical conductors, how will this help us in real life? Have a little think about safety. Why do you think I've put screwdrivers on there? Daniel?
If you touch like something electrical, a screwdriver, and there's no other type of material on the end, but you can get electric shock.
Good, well done. So we've got this part, which is a part we might actually put into a device that's electrical. And then we've got a plastic or a rubber part, that's an insulator, so we don't get an electric shock, okay? Now, I'm going to demonstrate to you how electricity works, the flow of electrons. In your hand are bean bags. We're going to pretend they are electrons. Now, in a circuit, we've got a circuit going, and we have a bulb over there which hasn't lit up yet. You are going to have your electrons moving around in all different directions because that's what happens in a circuit. So, have them moving whichever way, pass them on whichever way you choose to. Now, listen while you're doing that, please. When I put the battery in, I want all my electrons to flow my right-hand side, that's anti-clockwise, and then my bulb should light up. Okay, battery being inserted. So everyone should be flowing this way, and me. There you go. And once it gets to Paulette going in the right direction, it should light up. Keep going the same direction. Now you're going to do an investigation. And what you are going to do, you've got a table, and you're going to write the material in and make your prediction before you test anything.
Yes, I've read in a book that the silver is the best conductor because it lets electrons pass through very easily. Okay. So silver coin.
Why do you think the metal will be a good electrical conductor? What makes you think that?
I don't know.
made out of metal and the wires are made out of metal.
Brilliant thought. So you think they're all going to be happy together? Sort of? Ah, right. Great.
Let's do it in order. Wood. Let's do wood here. I clipped it. Wait, the bulb is not lighting up. Let's try. Okay, no. Now it's plastic ruler. Plastic ruler. It's not working either. No. Paper clip. A little tiny paper clip. Yes! Got the penny ready.
One end, can you reach the other end? The other end?
Yes! Yes! Silver coin and silver.
First of all, which ones were electrical conductors? What are they? If we had to categorise them and group them, what are they? They are all metals. All groups need to write down why it's a good electrical conductor, the metals, and why the non-metals are not electrical conductors. You've got to tell me both. And then you're going to demonstrate using your beanbags in your groups, okay? Have a little think about the coin, what object the coin is. Can this group explain to everyone what's going on here? What are the electrons doing into the coin?
It's moving the same way.
And what about the coin? Is it going through the coin?
Yeah.
Good. Why?
Because it's metal.
Excellent. Well done. Sit down. Give them a round of applause.
So how does Claire rate Halima now?
Well, Halima, it was a real treat to come back and also to see not just you in action again, but some of the same pupils who've now moved up to year 6. And I thoroughly enjoyed the lesson. They clearly did. I think I'm going to say that they were really inspired by your teaching, and it was outstanding again.
Thank you.
It had some wonderful features. Loved the opening with the vocabulary checks. Repeating it is good. Loved the sort of relevance. Why are we doing this, etc. That was great because that was something that wasn't too wonderful before. And of course the whole beanbag thing was great fun, and it really certainly made it click, I think, for those who hadn't got it when you said it verbally. And their general behaviour and responsiveness is second to none. The habits that are instilled contribute so much to the flow and the success of the lesson, and particularly the way they do really talk to each other when you ask them to mull over something, have an idea in a group, the way they really make sure that everybody's involved in the group. Absolutely fabulous. The sort of little tweaks, I mean, if you stand back and look at it, even though I'm saying it was an outstanding lesson, would there be some little tweaks you'd make if you were doing that again, say tomorrow?
Yeah, I think my major one would be where the children had to do the materials. I think I could have shortened that up.
I think that would have been it, just a bit more time at the end on coming back round in full circle to why does this matter? And that would have just brought it home how much we depend on you know, the circuits not being broken and how often they do get broken. And you've laid such wonderful foundations for them to move on in science when they go up to secondary school. I think, you know, you're doing them proud, and keep at it, because they clearly really enjoy both being in the classroom with you and sort of learning with you and working as hard as they can for you. So thank you again for a really enjoyable lesson and afternoon.
Thank you. Well, I got an outstanding, and that's partly because of you, so thanks. And I'm still digesting it. I am really surprised. I didn't think I'd get outstanding, maybe a good with outstanding features, and to be honest, I would have been thrilled with that, but to get outstanding, yay, great stuff.